Hey, what's going on, y'all? Today I want to talk about older flagship devices or new budget devices. Now, I know that sounds kind of weird, but you got to think about it. I mean, even though this S9 Plus is an older flagship, it's like you can get it at budget prices right now. And it's definitely an older device. And of course, you have the Samsung A25. This is definitely a budget device. All right. Well, first I want to say, please excuse my voice. I'm dealing with a bad head cold, so excuse me if I sound weird or if I clear my throat or cough. Just please excuse me. just ask you to bear with me. I do apologize. I try to make this quick so I don't have to hurt your ears with all this, these issues with this cold. All right. So once again, I got the S9 Plus here and the A25. So, first thing, well, let me say this first. S9 2018, and of course the A25 2023. So, the S9 is clearly a much, much older device than the A25 that just came out the end of last year. But what I've noticed a lot with my videos of late, especially my Note 20 Ultra video, is that the thing got almost 30,000 views and almost 500 likes. So a lot of people are holding on to their older devices. They don't see the value in buying these newer devices. And now I know there's some of you out there that, prefer the quote unquote latest and the greatest. And that's good for you, especially if you could afford it, or maybe you could get a really good trade in value for your older device to get that newer device. But to me, in all actuality, in a lot of instances, I don't really see the upgrades like we used to see years ago. I see very, very small upgrades, very small, like almost like non-existent. The only thing they seem to focus on is the cameras, for the most part, and who has the brighter display. Like, who cares about that? Now, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with having good cameras, but let me just say this. Now, this is a device that I still have, that I've had for a really long time, the LG G4. And I know LG was notorious for having a boot loop issue, back in the day. But luckily for me, I've never had that boot loop issue, and I've never had it with any LG device that I've bought, even the older ones. But let me just say this for as far as the camera is concerned. When I took photos with that phone, videos and photos, now let me just talk on the photos really quick. Those photos were so good that they looked like they were taken from a professional camera. That's how great they were. I'm serious, because it was like I was like going back and forth between the Samsung Note 4 and my LG G4 trying to see which one gave me the best photos. But the LG G4 photos was clearly better than my Note 4. It wasn't even really close. As well as the videos was just better. So there are older phones out there that people are using right now that they're completely satisfied with the photo and video quality of their devices. They don't really feel the need of an upgrade. And a lot of people don't want to spend over $1,000, nor should they, for a newer device. No one should be spending that much money for a device. I don't care how smart it is. If you're not having any issues with your older device, you keep that device. If you're happy with it and does everything you need it to do, you keep that device until the wheels fall off, until it stops working. And I'm getting a lot of comments from people that even when their older device finally stops, they just go get the same device again. They don't care for the newer devices. They don't really see a whole lot of value in the newer devices. Now, of course, there are some upgrades with the newer devices with the better performance, in some instances, better battery life. And of course, you got, the better cameras for some people. So for some people, they don't believe that the cameras are really that much greater. But the cameras have definitely been vastly improved. There's no question, especially the zoom capabilities of a lot of these cameras today. So there definitely are some improvements, but when you start thinking about what they've taken away from these devices, which people want on their devices, like a headphone jacket, expandable storage, things like that. They want those things. And those are the things that they're taking away. And then they took away the charger out of the box. Now they don't want to give you a case. They don't want to give you anything except for some, a lot of Chinese companies still will at least give you a charger and a case. But over here in the US, they don't want to give you anything. They just want to keep taking all your money but give you nothing. So I hope that didn't sound like a little rant just now, and it wasn't meant to be. But I just want to try to explain to people that, sometimes you get more value with stuff that's old than stuff that's new. And that's what I'm saying. I don't see any innovation really with these newer devices today. I really don't. Now, AI, okay, some people are into AI, some people are not. I could care less about AI. I could care less. I don't need it. It's not important to me. But I'm not saying it's not going to be important to somebody out there. But I don't care about that. Give me a headphone jack. Give me expandable storage. Give me an LED notification sensor. Give me iris sensor. Give me that. You see what I'm saying? All right, so let's get started. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to talk about the similarities between these two devices. There are definitely some similarities. First thing, the price. Now, not exactly the same price, but you can get both of these devices for under $200. That's how great, that's why I consider the S9 Plus a budget device, because you can get it under $200. Now, I believe I got this like for $170. $170 for a flagship device. That is dirt cheap. Okay. And I can't remember how much I paid for the A25, but it was like under $180. So it was probably around the same amount of money. It's dirt cheap right now. Okay. But this is, of course, the newer device. Now, both of these devices have a headphone jack. And that's important to a lot of people out there that really wants a device with a headphone jack. So with either one of these, you're going to be good as far as a headphone jack is concerned. Next, both of these devices have expandable storage. The S9, I believe, only goes up to 500 gigs, I believe. I could be wrong on that. But I know for certain that the A25, you can put a 1 terabyte SD card in this. Now, this is not the last flagship that got expandable storage from Samsung. That would be the S20. This is the S9. But I think it was 500 gigs for the S9. And then with the S10, I think it was a terabyte. So, but like, I could be wrong. But both have expandable storage if that's something that's important to you. Next, both of these have dual stereo speakers. Okay? That's another similarity. Next, both have always on displays. Now, my only problem with these always on displays is that clearly the S9 has the better always on display. And I'm going to let you see that in a second. Well, you can see it over here on the A25. You can see here that this is a better always on display. See how your icons are bigger and you can see them in their own color, which is what Samsung took away with this garbage. Look at those small little teeny icons and everything is white. Plus, with the always on display on the A25, you can't even customize it at all. No, you can't customize it through Good Lock. I already downloaded Good Lock, and Good Lock basically doesn't even exist. It really doesn't. On this device, it doesn't even exist. On this one, yes, but on this one, no, it doesn't even exist. Okay, it just doesn't. Watch my full review for the A25 and you'll see what I'm talking about. But the better always on display clearly goes to the S9. Next, both of these have face unlock. Now, face unlock is still mediocre on both of these devices. All right, still mediocre, but they both have face unlock. Next, both have Samsung Pay. Now it's called Samsung Wallet, but you can make payments, pay for things with both of these devices. And the last similarity is both are using One UI, different versions of One UI, but One UI nonetheless. And I'll talk about that a little later. Now, of course, there's more similarities with the software, like secure folder, edge panels, edge lighting, things like that, one-handed mode. Those things are the same. But I'm not going to get into that because that's like, if both are running one UI, the software is going to be very similar. All right, now I'm going to talk about the differences between the two devices. Okay, let's start out with the button placement. So with the A25, everything is on the right, nothing on the left. With the S9 Plus, you got the power button on the right and you got the volume up and downs on the left. Plus you got a Bixby button. There's no Bixby button on the A25. So first thing is the button placement is definitely different between these two devices. Which one do I prefer? I prefer the button placement on the A25 because everything is on the right. I'm right-handed. That's what I prefer. But it's not like I couldn't get used to not having the volume buttons on the left because that's where Samsung used to store them years ago. And this power button is a little high. I don't know why Samsung put the power button so high on these older models, but they did, and I didn't like that. Next, let's talk about build quality. Now, with the A25, with the S9 Plus, you got Gorilla Glass 5 on the front and the back. And Gorilla Glass 5 was excellent. No scratches, no micro scratch, no nothing on this device whatsoever. Now, with the A25, of course, you're not getting any Gorilla Glass. You're just getting glass on the front, and you're getting a plastic frame and a plastic back. However, now I said this before when I did my full review for this device, it may be plastic, but it doesn't feel like plastic. It really doesn't. It feels really good. Now, it doesn't feel necessarily like glass, but it don't feel like cheap plastic. It just doesn't. It has a really good quality build on it. And of course, the S9 Plus has a beautiful, beautiful Gorilla Glass, on this. It's just beautiful. This is I think the ocean blue. And as you can see with the design on both of these is very, very different. I actually like the look of the S9 Plus a little better. That's just my personal opinion. All right. Next, the fingerprint sensors. Now, with the A25, you have the fingerprint sensor on the side, which I don't like. I prefer in-display fingerprint sensors, but it's on the side. I don't like side-mounted fingerprint sensors. But on the S9, it's actually on the rear, and it's a physical fingerprint sensor. Both have a physical fingerprint sensor, so neither one has a fingerprint sensor built into the display. But if I had to choose, I take the S9 with the fingerprint sensor on the rear. Another difference is, and I already talked about this with the always on display, is that you cannot customize the always on display with, with the A25. Now, you want me to show you what I mean? I'm gonna go to it really quick. This is it right here. Okay, you can see where you could turn it on. You could show music information. You could always have it where it's always on all the time. You can get your notifications, all that. But that's it. You can't change the clock. You can't change anything. So you say, well, you can go to Good Lock. Okay, well, let's go to Good Lock. Let's go to Good Lock. Since you think you can change it in Good Lock, which you can't. Here's Good Lock right here. Good Lock. Take a good look at Good Lock. You get nothing. See where it says makeup? There is nothing. Everything is blank. You go to Life Up. This is all you get. Nice catch and one-handed operation. That's it. So there is no change in anything because Good Lock does not exist. So you're always on display is what it is. You can't change it because Good Lock does not exist. It's not in here. You see there's nothing here. So that makes the always on display suck on this device, unlike the S9. Next, let's talk water and dust resistance. So the S9 Plus does have IP68 water and dust resistance. With the A25, you have no dust and water resistance whatsoever. So I advise you to keep this away from water. Next, let's talk about wireless charging. So with the S9 Plus, you are definitely getting wireless charging, even though it's slow, but you're still getting it. With the A25, you're not getting any wireless charging whatsoever. And for maybe many of you, you don't care about that. But There could be somebody out there that actually does care about wireless charging. And if you do have that option with the S9 Plus. Next, let's talk battery charging speeds. So the A25 has 25-watt fast charging, okay? And the S9 Plus only comes with 15-watt charging, wired charging. I'm talking about wired charging for both. So 25 watts on the A25, 15 watts on the S9 Plus. So of course, the A25 is going to charge a little faster, not much faster because the battery size on these phones are both very different. We'll talk about that right now. So when it comes to battery size, with the A25, you got a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. With the S9 Plus, you have a 3,500 milliamp hour battery. So the A25 battery is considerably larger than that of the S9 Plus, considerably. 5,000 compared to 3,500. It's way, way bigger battery. Okay. All right. Now, when it comes to special features, this is another thing that sets both of these devices apart as well, where you're going to see some big differences. Now, with the S9 Plus, you're getting the iris sensor, something that everybody that has a Note 9 is familiar with. Is this little light right here. As soon as I raise this up, well, I'll press this button right here. That's the iris sensor right there. That lights up so you can see, you can do your eyes. I put my eyes in there and, it'll make the phone open up. See, I miss that. I miss having that sensor. I really do. I just hate that I don't have that sensor anymore. Hate it. All right, next you got the S9 Plus has the LED notification sensor, which is the same thing built into the iris sensor. So basically, when I'm charging my device, it's going to be red. When it's fully charged, it's going to turn green. Also, when I receive a notification, it's going to blink red or it's going to blink green. Green if I have a text message, red if I just get a regular notification. So that's something also Samsung removed from their devices today. So you no longer have that LED notification sensor. Next, you got the heart rate monitor. That's right here, built on the back. That's something else that Samsung removed. Now, I actually used it because, I used it to monitor not only my heartbeat, but also my stress level. But we know that you got smart watches now that can do that as well. So that may not be a big deal to most people. But most importantly, and I think this is important for those of you that utilize this particular feature, the S9 Plus has Samsung DeX. Okay? The A25 does not have Samsung DeX. So with the A25, you're not getting the iris sensor, the LED notification sensor, the heart rate monitor, or Samsung DeX. If that matters to you, remember, you can get these both for practically the same price. Keep that in mind. So those are the special features. Let's talk about the display. Now, I'm sure you can see right here with these displays that they're different. You can see that they look different. Okay. Now with the S9 Plus, you get a 6.2-inch Quad HD Super AMOLED display with HDR10 and 512 pixel density. So you can see how bright, vibrant, and punchy with the colors that the S9 looks. You're dealing with a Quad HD display right here. With the A25, you have a 6.5-inch 1080p Super AMOLED display with only 396 pixel density. So you can clearly, okay, sorry about that, y'all. I was pressing something. You couldn't really see it. They both look absolutely beautiful and stunning. Now, the A25 does get a little bit brighter than the S9 Plus, but keep in mind, this is a much newer device. But when it just comes to just complete overall richness and beauty, I got to go with the Quad HD. I'm sorry. I got to go with the S9 Plus that has the better display. In my humble opinion, it just looks better. It just does. Okay. But you can't go wrong with either one. But you're going to get a bigger display with the A25 because it's 6.5. This is only 6.2. But for those people that don't really like big giant phones like that, you may want to rock with the S9 Plus because it's definitely small, a little more compact, and a little more one-handed friendly, especially for somebody like me. I don't really have large hands or like long fingers. So it's actually easy for me to text, send text messages and type on this than this. Even though, I think the S9 Plus is actually just a tad bit wider, but this is definitely taller. And you can see the bezels around the A25, which is not that big of a deal, but I don't like that teardrop notch up there. With the S9 Plus, you do get a bezel at the top, and you do get one at the bottom, even though with this wallpaper you can't really see it. But you get none on the sides because the screen is slightly curved. Now with the A25, you're dealing with a flat display, which some people want today. People was complaining, "Oh, I'm tired of curved displays." I like curved displays; they don't bother me. But this is a flat display. This is a curved display. So it's just going to depend on you. Okay, you want a quad HD or you good with a 1080p that's a little bit brighter? That's up to you. Next, let's talk about RAM. Now, when it comes to RAM, the A25 comes with 8 gigs of RAM, while the S9 Plus comes with only 4 gigs of RAM. That might be a big deal. Now, you can find the S9 Plus with, 8 gigs, but, the standard version of this starts out at 4, but they do have an 8 gig available. I don't know for sure if they have a 12 gig. I'm not really sure about that, but they probably do. Probably 4, 8, and 12. But, with the A25, you do have 8 gigs. Now, that's going to be important for somebody that's heavily into gaming. So 4 gigs may just not be enough if you're into gaming heavily on your device. 4 gigs is not going to cut it for you. But you can get a larger variant when it comes to RAM. But this one comes with 8 gigs of RAM on deck. Next, let's talk about internal storage. So with the S9 Plus, you're getting 64 gigs of internal storage standard. That's the bottom, the bottom of the barrel, as far as 4 gigs, 64 gigs of RAM. 64 gigs of internal storage. And with the A25, you get 256 gigs of internal storage. But keep in mind, both have expandable storage. So that might not be a big deal. But 64 may not be enough, especially if you're the type of person that download a lot of apps, like a ton of apps. So it just depends on you and what type of user you are. But keep in mind, the A25 does start out 256, and this starts out with 64. Now, I believe there is a 128, and I think maybe a 256, but I'm not completely, sure on that. But you could check, you can always check on, online. All you got to do is Google it. Or just check on Samsung's, not Samsung. You could just check on Amazon. All right, let's talk about performance, okay? Now, the S9 Plus is running Android 10 with One UI 2.5. So you can see right there how old it is because, with my, I'll just compare it to the phone that's right here. With the A25, Android 14 and One UI 6.1. So you got One UI 2.5 and you got One UI 6.1. So there is a huge gap when it comes to software. And also with Android. So you got Android 14 here, you only got Android 10 here. But I will say performance is pretty much the same with both of these devices. Now, both are not bad. Both are pretty good, I would say. Not bad at all. Especially for this one being as old as it is. Let me see. See, both open up pretty quickly. So performance is really not a problem. Honestly, they're both pretty quick, even though, as you can see that it seems like this one is open up a little faster now. I'm not pressing them at the same time, but it still seemed like, definitely the S9 faster. The S9 opens up apps a little faster. It just does. That's just a fact. Because I'm pressing them at the same time, but S9 is faster. And that's because the S9 Plus, even though it's older, it has a flagship processor in it, a flagship, chip in it, and the A25 does not. So that might be a big deal for some of you out there if you want a device that's faster. And if you want a device that's a little faster, you want the S9 Plus, even though it's older, but it does perform better. Let's talk software support. Now, unfortunately, there is no longer any software support for the S9 Plus. However, if software and security support matters to you, then you may want to consider the A25, which of course is going to get Android 18 because it's good for 4 Android updates and 5 years of security patches, if that matters to you. Now, I did a video saying, is your Samsung device secure? And it is. Samsung always gives you built-in security on these devices, whether you get a security patch or not. It has layers upon layers of security built into the device. So even if you don't get the latest security patch, your device will still be secure. Okay? Check out that video. All right? Next, and last thing is the cameras. Now, I'm not going to get heavily detailed into this camera thing because it's not necessary. Now, this has 3 cameras, so you got to, you do have a 50 megapixel lens on this device here, and it takes really good, pictures for a budget device. It really does. Check out my full review on the A25. It does take really decent photos. Excuse me, but with the S9 Plus, keep in mind these are flagship cameras. Now it's only 2 of them, but man, even to this day, this device takes excellent cameras. I did took a couple of photos at night, and I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, some of these night photos on this device look better than my S23 Ultra, and I'm not even lying. But I'm going to be doing a review on this phone soon, but I got to get out and take some photos of it. I mean, photos with it, but I guarantee you they're probably going to look better than the A25, in my opinion. Just based on those night photos I took, I couldn't believe how clear and bright they were compared to my S23 Ultra. So even older devices, cameras are not as bad as people may think they are, or people may just think, I just got to get the latest and greatest, and I can zoom in 100 times. Most people ain't zooming in 100 times on nothing. I mean, I don't need to zoom in 100 times on anything. I mean, 30 is really the sweet spot, honestly. Now, I'm not saying it's not good to have the capability to do it, which is fine, but what are the odds? Are you zooming into something that far? You're just not going to do it. Majority of the time, you're not going to do that. But this was just, a video that I thought about, when I'm thinking about, these older flagships that, some people just kick to the curve as soon as the next thing come up. And I'm thinking about, these older flagships, which to me has a lot more value than these newer flagships, with all the stuff they done removed from the newer ones. So ain't nothing wrong if you have the S9, keep rocking it. Or if you want to buy it, I would definitely, recommend it, because there's nothing wrong with this device. And think about the fact that you're getting the iris sensor, the heart rate monitor, the LED notification, sensor, you're getting expandable storage, you're getting a headphone jack. Now this is getting some of those things, but it's not getting all those things. Plus Samsung DeX, and you're paying less than $200. I mean, for an older flagship, and like I said, it has built-in security, so you shouldn't have to worry about, anything happening with your device. And you're getting good quality performance and cameras and great display, and the battery life on this device is still good. So something to consider. But if you need something newer, you don't like this old look, you want something that looks more up to date, you want the security patches, you want the software updates, you want the bigger, thicker device, because this is a bigger device as far as height, and it's definitely thicker. Okay, the S9 Plus is thin. It's thin. Now, I know there's some people out there that like thin devices, and you like the curved display. So if you like thin devices, you like the curved display, then go with the S9 Plus. This is a good quality device. Remember, you're getting that IP68 water and dust resistance, and you're also getting Gorilla Glass. You're not getting that with the A25. You're just not getting that. All right, so quick shout out to all my subscribers. I want to thank you all for taking the time to view this content. I do appreciate it. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for giving me likes. I do appreciate you guys very much. And I will be doing another smartphone giveaway very soon. So stay tuned for that. All right. Thank you guys very much. And I'll check you guys out in the next one. Peace.